Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Mandi, author of 10 young adult novels so far. It's been a crazy day, and I've been running around like a crazy person, but I've decided it's time to film a YouTube video. I don't know why I decided to do that right this second, but I did, and here we are. So, this is going to be the first of hopefully many reading vlogs this summer. It is June 15th, so it took me a very long time to start this process. But we're starting it now. I'm going to be reading A Vow So Bold and Deadly. I did a reading vlog where I read A Heart So Fierce and Broken and whichever one, no, what came before that? A Curse So something, I don't remember. You guys, whatever. There's a reading vlog of me reading the first two books. One vlog, two books. Really love the first one, whose name I can't remember. A Curse So Dark and Lonely, that's what it is. Yes, I loved that one. I thought it was brilliant. My favorite character was Gray, but I was okay with the prince, and Harper's amazing, and I wanted Harper to be with Gray, but I was okay with the love story, and she was with the prince. Oh, by the way, there's going to be spoilers. I will be very free with what I am talking about as I read the book, and as I discuss the first two books, and my very passionate feelings about them, so you've been warned. Anyway, yeah, so I really loved the first book. I thought it was the best Beauty and the Beast retelling that I had ever read. Loved it so much. Yeah. Then I read book 2. And, I despise the prince. Absolutely hate him. I say this as I'm writing a character in my own books who, is a murderer, and then I make him out to be a hero. But you can't come back from certain things. He beat a child, okay? He beat an actual child, and I cannot forgive him for it. I will not forgive him for it. I think he's awful and terrible. And at the very end of the book, the, evil witch lady is there, and you can tell that the author is, trying to be like, but it wasn't his fault, though. He's under so much pressure, and this evil lady is here, and, what was he gonna do? Just, not beat a child. That would be my suggestion. Yeah, he's just so insecure about the idea that there could be another heir to the throne that he almost murdered an actual child. I do not forgive him. I hate him. And I'm so mad that Harper stayed with him after that. Ugh. Why? Why would you be with someone like that? Why would you be like, oh, but I can see the heart of gold under that. No, you cannot. Yes, so I'm mad at Harper, even though she's, amazing in general. I despise the prince after book 2. I still love Gray. Throughout reading book 2, I was really, really, really hoping that Harper would leave the awful, horrendous, terrible, stupid prince and be with Gray, which is who I wanted her to be with since the beginning. So, I wasn't paying very much attention to Gray's actual love interest until, the last quarter of the book, when I realized that my hopes were never going to come true, and I just had to get over it. At which point, I decided I do really like his love interest. Still not what I initially wanted, but I can live with it. She's awesome. Gray's awesome. Together they're awesome. Here's what I hope will happen in this book. They're going to knock some sense into the prince, and Gray's going to be the heir and take over the kingdom, and because his little love interest, is the heir to the other kingdom, we'll just merge the two together and live happily ever after, and Harper can stay on if she wants to, not the prince. I'm really hoping we either exile or just murder him, because he does not deserve redemption. I am so mad at him. Yeah, so that's where we're at. I ordered the book, but it came in hardback, which is not a problem. I like hardback books, but my copies of the first two books were not in hardback. I didn't get rid of the hardback, however, I just kept it, and then I bought the paperback to actually match the series that I have. So I guess let's get into it. We're starting with the best. Yes! It's been a handful of months since I read the first 2 books. By a handful, I mean at least 6, because it's June, and I did not read them in 2022. But also, I didn't bring them, which would have been smart, I didn't bring them to the farm with me when I moved here. So I don't have them on hand to, like, read them again and refresh my memory on everything that happened previously. So before I actually dive into Grey's opening chapter, I'm going to watch my own vlog and listen to myself rant about things to sort of like refresh my memory on what happened in the first 2 books. The interactions between Harper and Rhen, and then also his guard Grey. Oh my gosh, I love Scary Grey. He's my favorite. Do I care? She stares up at me, and I stare down at her, and I wish I could unravel all the emotion that hangs between us. I wish I could tell her about Lilith. I wish I could earn her forgiveness and win back her trust. I wish I could undo so many things. I wish you'd stop talking so we could go back to a character I actually care about at all. Thank you. I do appreciate that Harper was still mad at him. But like, why did she stay? When I'm with him, a tiny ball of anger burns in my gut and nothing ever seems to douse it. You know, everything he does is for his people. You know, he's a king. He has to make tough choices or whatever. No matter how many times I remind myself of that, I can't forget what he did to Grey and Tycho. I can't forget that I came back here instead of going with my brother. Instead of going with Grey. It's its own little sentence. Wait, focus. It's its own little sentence, and it broke my heart. Okay, it's very breezy, and I'm having difficulty finding a place to film that doesn't require me going under the trees. The trees definitely block the breeziness, but every time I film out there in the, like, trees that I always film in, I come inside. Oh, hey, it's a butterfly. Anyhow, this is a lovely angle. I come inside with ticks all over me every time this year, specifically, and it's driving me nuts. So I don't want to go in the trees, but nowhere else is not windy. I'm like hiding you behind the wildflowers in the hope that they will block the wind. So basically, before I started reading today, I wanted to chit-chat because I've been thinking about my hatred of Rhen and the fact that I myself write a character who murders someone, and I love him. He's my baby. I think he's very sympathetic. Yeah, I feel like, for me personally, and hopefully for my readers, he's the sort of person where you're like, man, he's in a rough situation, and I feel for him, and like, maybe I'm angry at him for stupid things that he does, but like, I also feel for him, you know? Sympathize. And I don't sympathize with Rhen at all, and my character murdered someone, and Rhen just like tortured someone, so like, why do I feel this way? So I was thinking about it, and like, part of it might just be because Guy is my character, he's my baby, so obviously I'll forgive him for anything, and Rhen is just a character I'm reading in a book, so I'm just mad at him. But I think also part of it is that Guy's... Stop being windy. Guy's murder was kind of accidental and happened in a fit of passion, and he immediately regretted it and then was tormented by it for the rest of his life. And with Rhen, he doesn't really regret what he did so far. I mean, there's like been like one throwaway line where he was like, I wish I could change so many things. But that could apply to anything. And when he and Harper had a conversation about Liamara invading their kingdom, Harper mentioned that Liamara wants to rule from a place of compassion and empathy, because she does. She's a peacemaker. Liamara is basically like me if I was cooler. But like her character and personality is yeah, I can definitely relate to it a lot, but I'm not a princess and I don't know how to fight and things. But anyway, you know, I just thought about this, but it is kind of entertaining that Grey's love interest is is like a cooler version of me. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. They were having this discussion about empathy and compassion. And Harper was like, I agree with Liamara. Like, that's my values as well. And then Rhen was like, meh, compassion, empathy, whatever. And I feel like that solidified why I can't forgive him. And why I can forgive my own character for committing murder. Because my character was like, wow, I am a horrible person for doing that. And Rhen is like, yeah, it was necessary. Hard decision maybe, but like it was necessary. And it first of all, it wasn't. It was not in any way necessary to torture this kid. Ugh. And second, anyone who is that, I don't know, just like not caring about the idea of empathy and compassion, like that person doesn't have my respect. I don't like people who don't care about other people or how their behavior affects other people. Yeah, that's what I got. I despise him. But I feel like he is being written by the author in such a way that the reader's supposed to be like, ah, poor Rhen, he's in a hard situation, and he, you know, his relationship with Harper is suffering because of it, and aw, poor guy. And I'm not feeling any of that. I'm just like, no, you deserve it. You dork. I don't want to keep reading this book. I want to burn it. I don't think I can take much more of this. As much as I don't want to admit it, there was a reason Rhen had to go as hard as he did to get an answer. Rhen couldn't stop until he had it, not with all of Emberfall at risk. Yes, yep, it's completely valid to torture an innocent child. That was in no way related to any of this. I'm not happy. You guys. They were kissing. Not even kissing. They were getting handsy, okay? Oh, I was throwing up in my mouth. Oh, I can't read this book. Every few lines I like shut it and chuck it away from me because I'm so mad at it. Ugh. It has become abundantly clear that A, the author has no intention of vilifying Rhen, and B, no intention of making the tension in the relationship with Harper and Rhen last very long, because we're like 50 pages in and she's already like forgiving him and understanding him and whatever, and I'm just like, barf. Ugh. And C, we are not addressing the fact that it was more than gray. Every conversation with Rhen, with Dustin, the captain of the guard who helped with the whole torture situation, all of it has been about Gray, and like Rhen had to do what he did to Gray to protect his people. And if that is what had happened, you could sway me. I could get there. I'd still be like, man, why would you do that to Gray? I love him, but also like, makes sense, you know, Rhen's protecting his entire kingdom. But that's not what happened. What happened was he tortured a child to get information from Gray. And yes, he also tortured Gray, but that's not the part I'm mad about. I mean, it kind of is, but it's not. It's the innocent kid who got dragged into this that I am so furious over. And that's the one that hasn't even been brought up by Rhen or Harper or Dustin or no one's addressing the fact that he tortured a child. And it's really frustrating me that the author's not even addressing it. I mean, in the first chapter that was from Gray's perspective, the kid was mentioned. The scars on his back were mentioned. And I assume if we ever get back to Gray's perspective, we'll get more from the kid and from Gray's feelings about it. But we didn't get very much in Gray's perspective. And from Harper and Rhen, we've got nothing. We haven't even discussed the fact that he tortured a kid. Ugh. It makes me so angry that she's come to a place of understanding what he did to Gray without even acknowledging the fact that he also did it to this kid that had nothing to... Ugh. You guys, I am so mad at this book, and I don't even want to finish it. Because the way that it's been written, it doesn't appear that this is ever going to be an issue that's brought up. And I don't think I can be emotionally invested in the story if it's not addressed. Because it was horrible. I don't even want to read this book, you guys. I don't. Okay, I have come to a place of resignation and acceptance. Yeah, I realize that I am not going to enjoy reading this book if I keep caring so much. Camera died on me, but yeah, basically I'm just resigned. I want to take it all back and get angry again, but I'm really trying not to. Yes, to a point, I can see where Rhen is coming from. Except Tycho, but no one will bring it up, and I'm starting to believe the author avoided it on purpose because she can't excuse that one. Oh my gosh, you guys, I am loving, what am I saying? I am loving the interactions between Gray and Harper's brother, Jake. They're hilarious. Anyway, they were about to go into a meeting with advisors and generals and things, because we're going to war. And Gray is full of self-doubt, and Jake is like, do you need a pre-game pep talk? Oh, what? No guts, no glory. Get your head into the game. Go bigger, Jake. Gray. Anyway, it was making me giggle, and I felt you needed to know that I was enjoying this book. In a Gray chapter, mind you. So of course I was enjoying it, but like I wasn't angry. I was in town today, all day, and so I took my book with me to read, and did in fact read quite a lot. What I did not take with me was you. Did not take the camera, but I was writing on a sticky note whenever I felt like I had something that I wanted to remember for later. So we're gonna go back over those and, yeah, discuss. So, first and foremost, I am really enjoying the book. It's a page turner, exactly like the first two books were. All of the political drama and, like, the war and the stuff with Lilith, the Enchantress, like, all of that is very interesting, fascinating, and I'm loving reading about it. Basically, the only thing I don't love is Rhen. But anyway, I've learned to tolerate him at this point. So, let's see. Things. First thing I wrote down was when Harper convinces Rhen to sue for peace, which annoyed me because it was halfway through the book, and it was like, I'm sorry, we did all of this nonsense, and in the last book we did all of the nonsense of, like, you know, beating Gray and this innocent child. All of these war preparations and all of this political maneuvering, and like, we did everything just to get to the point where we should have been at the end of book 2? Seriously? All of this? Just to get where we should have been originally? Anyway, that was annoying. I mean, I was glad that Harper convinced him to sue for peace, but like, why was it so difficult? The next thing I wrote down, oh my gosh, was when, when Lilith just like kills everyone, and it was traumatic. I wrote, with a bunch of H's. I was not expecting that. I was, my jaw just dropped while I was reading, and I just could not handle it. And the last thing I wrote down was when Harper goes for Gray. I wrote, wow. Took over half the book to do what should have been done immediately. There was a lot of sarcasm in this handwritten note. So those were the 3 things. Also, while I was doing the dishes, I was like ranting in my head as if I was talking to you, but you weren't there. No camera was there. And so I'm trying to remember everything I was ranting about in my head. This is why I had the sticky notes. I didn't have to like try to remember what I was thinking. But basically what it boiled down to was that I'm annoyed. Not as like furious as I was in the beginning of reading this book, but I'm just annoyed because the characters on both sides of the conflict have gone out of their way to make Rhen's behavior towards Gray justifiable and understandable and sympathetic and whatever. To the point that even I could be convinced, you know? I mean, it wasn't great. I didn't love it, but like, I could see why, you know? But no one has ever tried to explain away what happened to Tycho. Literally no one. His name gets brought up. People say things like, what happened to Gray and Tycho? So they know that he was there. But every time the two of them are brought up in connection to the whipping, it's immediately followed with justification for why Rhen did what he did to Gray. No one yet, I haven't finished the book, but like, we are, hold on, 311 pages in, and no one has tried to explain away what happened to Tycho. No one even talks about it beyond, like, name-dropping him. Like, oh, this thing happened to Gray and Tycho. And then we go into the emotional, physical ramifications for Gray and for Rhen. And we don't even approach Tycho at all. And it annoys me to no end, because that's the part I despise, was what happened to the innocent child. Like, that's the part that kills me. And that's the part that no one is addressing. And I assume the author doesn't have anyone addressing it, because she can't explain that one way. She can't make Rhen sympathetic for torturing a child in order to get Gray to talk. I just called him Ray. Anyway, there's no angle that you can look at that without thinking Rhen is a terrible person, which I think is why the author's avoiding broaching the subject, because she can't explain it away the way she's explaining away the situation with Gray. Or, the other option is that none of these people who have these conversations in the book, none of the characters think it was a terrible thing. And if that one's the case, none of these people are people that I would want to root for. So I'm just gonna assume it's the former. And the author was just like, I can't talk myself out of this one, we'll just ignore it. We just won't bring it up. Maybe no one will notice. Except they do bring it up, because they're like, that thing that happened to Tycho. And then just move on with the conversation. Wait, but can we go back? Can we go back to that thing that happened to Tycho? No, we're not gonna address that. We're not gonna try and explain away Rhen's. No, okay. So it's annoying me. Yeah. I just can't. I can't take it. But yeah, overall, I am really enjoying the book at this point. I really love Liamara. So much. I really didn't do her justice in book 2, because while I was reading book 2, I didn't want Gray to love her, because I wanted him to love Harper. Because I adored Harper from book 1, and I despised Rhen when we got to book 2. So I just really, really, really wanted Gray and Harper to be together in book 2, and I was not paying that much attention to his actual love story as it was unfolding. I actually really love her character. Like, so much. I love that she's me, you know, like a peacekeeper. She seems like an Enneagram 9, like she's so relatable for me. But she's also a badass. Like, it's amazing. I love that there's a character who embodies peace and nonviolence and everyone come together and sing Kumbaya. You know, like, this is who she is, but it's not portrayed as a bad thing or as a weakness or as, like, you're fine, but, like, you're not one of the heroes. Like, no, she is the hero. She's the one who's bringing everyone together. She's the one who's going to stop the violence between Emberfall and Shallow, or however you say her kingdom's name. Yeah. She's, like, the cornerstone that's gonna pull them all together, and I just love that so much. Also, she's just amazing. So, there you go. I still love Harper. I feel Harper lost some of my respect in staying with Rhen. Like, I'm sorry, your emotions, your love, as it were, is not a valid reason to stay with a bad person. And she's like, oh, but I see the good in him. I'm like, I don't. I really don't. Yeah. So, there's that. I still kind of despise Rhen. I don't hate him, but I definitely don't love him. So there's that. I adore Gray. Gray is amazing. Liamara is amazing. Harper's pretty amazing. Yeah. Overall, the book is really, really good. And is obviously producing a lot of very strong emotions from me, so, you know, High marks to the author for that. Okay, officially annoyed at Harper again. I once begged him for mercy. He did beg, I remember, but is that all that matters? They spent an eternity together, enduring the most terrible things I can imagine, but their relationship will boil down to one poor choice? And even as I think that, was the poor choice Wren's, when he ordered his guard to find some whips, or was the poor choice Gray's, when he decided to run, when he chose to keep his birthright a secret? She keeps going. Who am I kidding? They were both wrong. Sometimes we make such poor choices that the good ones pale in comparison. I want to throw the book across the room again, because I'm sorry, comparing Gray hiding and not telling anyone who he was because he knew that Rhen would freak out about it, comparing that to Rhen breaking Gray and Tycho. There is no comparison here. Gray did what he did to protect Rhen, to protect the kingdom from a civil war, to like... there was so much more than just his own survival or fear or whatever. Like, there was so much more to Gray's decision, and it surrounded protecting Rhen and Emberfall. And Wren's decision was entirely fear-based because of his, like, horror of magic. These things are not comparable, and also the ramifications of them. Like, Gray was hiding. Oh no. Versus Rhen ripped open and bloodied the back of a 15-year-old child. How is Harper putting these things side by side and be like, oh yeah, they both made bad choices? Like, oh my gosh. I am this close to losing the, like, sanity, resigned, I will enjoy this book, like, calmness that I had brought myself to. Like, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it, and I'm gonna be angry again. I think that I just have a very different perspective on Wren's behavior than the author did. Clearly. This is annoying. Despite all of my ranting, you guys, I actually do really enjoy this series a lot. It's really well written, and the characters are vibrant, and it's fast-paced, and you just want to keep turning the pages. Like, it's great. But, like, as a reading experience, it's been highs and lows, because A Curse So Dark and Lonely was the most magical experience ever. I adored it. I, like, immediately put it as my favorite Beauty and the Beast retelling ever created. It was amazing. And then I read book 2 and it just all came crumbling down, and now I'm reading book 3 and it's like slowly building back up, but it's building back up with bitterness and anger because we're not addressing Wren's behavior with the weight that I feel it deserves, and we're completely ignoring Tycho. And yeah, I'm enjoying book 3 more than book 2 simply because I guess I've adjusted to Rhen at this point, whereas in book 2 I was just traumatized. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, but I'm more angry. So I don't know, it's a complicated emotion. My disdain for Harper grows. But what do you want, Gray? Do you want Rhen as your brother, or is this just a way to take advantage again? Again, he whips his head around. When have I taken advantage? When you first went to Shill Shallow, when you declared war, you knew he was broken and hurting. You knew he was still dealing with everything Lilith did to him. I did not take advantage. His enforcers were slaughtering his people to get to me. He tried to kill Tycho. Also, thank you for mentioning that. Appreciate it. His guards would have leveled Blind Hollow. He would have listened to you, Gray. I pause. If you told him the truth. From the beginning. He looks at me. Do you really think so? I want to say yes, but I'm not sure. I'm sure. I don't think he would have. I have no faith in Rhen whatsoever. This is just bringing all my frustration to the surface. So Gray and Rhen are having a chat, and Gray is forgiving him, which is very nice of him. You know, he says it's over, it's done, because it is. One poor choice should undo 1,000 good ones. You know, in theory I agree with you, but I don't forgive Rhen. I don't do it. Also, what good ones? I've never seen him do good ones. We meet him when he's kidnapping girls, and then throughout most of all 3 books, he's not making decisions that I would personally approve of. So, yeah, nope, I'm sticking with hating Rhen, I'm sorry. Okay, so we're in the finale, and Rhen just saved Tycho's life. And I feel like this is supposed to make me be like, okay, he's made up for the fact that he almost killed him. That's my dinner. Bad choices can't undo good ones, as this book has mentioned many, many times. That I personally feel the good ones can't make up for the bad ones either. You can't have it both ways. Ugh. I'm so unforgiving right now. This is very out of character for me. I need you guys to understand. I'm usually a very gracious person. But Rhen hurt a kid. And him saving the kid now doesn't really make up for the fact that he chose to hurt the kid. You know? Like this split-second instinct to jump in front of a blade in the middle of a fight doesn't assuage my frustration with his sober, calm choice to have Tycho whipped half to death. Like there's no comparison for me. I'm still mad at him. I don't forgive him. I have this thing about broken people acting out and being able to understand them and maybe not justify them, because you're still responsible for your actions, but like empathize, you know? But when good characters do things, there's like no level of forgiveness for me. I've encountered this before. So when reading Harry Potter for the first time, I didn't love all of Snape's behavior because he also hurts children. But there's so much to his story and his broken, twisted childhood and like not having people to teach him what love looks like and things when he was a kid, that I can see why he is the way that he is. Whereas with James, who was a like absolute bully, like horrible, terrible, he was a good kid with great parents, and he was bored? Question mark? And I was furious, like as angry as I am at Rhen, like this is how I feel about James Potter. Can't stand. Ugh. Like if you have some excuse, like I don't love it, but I'll get over it, but there's no excuse. So the finale was from Rhen's perspective, which didn't make me happy. I didn't want to see it from his perspective. Gray has been struggling with his magic this entire time, and then the moment that he figures it out and can work it and like save the day, it's not from his perspective. We just like see him successfully magic. Why? Why? Also, apart from not seeing it from Gray's perspective, which we should have, it also felt really short and too easy. Like, we've had this whole build-up to Lilith, and then, like, in a chapter, she was defeated. And in that chapter, Gray, like, easily used magic, easily made Rhen the monster again, and then Rhen easily came back from the monster form, even though in book 1, it was, like, an entire book of figuring out how to, like, get him out of the monster form. Like, it was all too easy, and it was all from the wrong perspective. I almost threw up in my mouth just now. Harper's talking to Rhen, and she said this: "You brought peace to Emberfall." Bleh, I can't even read it, it's so disgusting. "You brought peace to Emberfall, Rhen. You did that. Gray was going to bring war. You gave him peace." This is literally not what happened. Not at all. But fine, whatever. If anyone is going to get the praise for bringing these two countries together, it's definitely Liamara. Just saying. But also Gray. Gray and Liamara. They brought peace. Harper was minimally helpful, but really only invested in the Lilith thing. Rhen was really only invested in the Lilith thing. I can't take this book. I can't take it. I'm getting nitpicky, but it annoys me. I wonder if there will always be this hum of tension between us, if all the wrongs on both sides have brought us to a point where nothing will fully dull the edges. This is Rhen speaking, as he and Gray are just, you know, having a chat in a tavern, just hanging out as brothers. And I just want to smack him. The wrongs on both sides. Gray literally didn't do anything. He did nothing. He did nothing. Ugh. I can't take this. Well, I finished it. Wow. I really enjoyed the politics and political maneuvering and the intrigue and stuff, which was mostly with Gray and Liamara in Shill Shallow. There was a little bit at the beginning with Rhen, but then Lilith showed up and basically all of it was about Lilith. And I felt most of the Lilith stuff was, I don't know, just lackluster. Like, we'd been here before, because book 1 was entirely that story, and then this one rehashed that story. It didn't do Lilith in a different, more threatening, unique way. It just did the same Lilith with the same issues, and we won. Hooray. So that wasn't very interesting. Also, in book 2, there's this creature, the Scraver dude. I'm not even gonna try to say his name. Listen, fantasy names night, normal names night, we just don't get along, okay? But anyway, who's amazing and creepy and magical and whatever, and I love him. But he mentions having a son. And he's also like the king of this whole other kingdom that we don't ever go see. And then in this book, like, the son shows up at the very end, at the finale, as like an afterthought. Not like it was a well thought out piece of the story, and more of just like, oh yeah, remember that son we talked about that one time? He was in the battle, but like, it doesn't actually matter. Okay. And then he flies off to who knows where. So that was weird, and and like the Lilith finale just wasn't enough for me, because it was super fast and super easy, and as I said before, seeing all of it not from Gray's perspective was frustrating, because I feel like, I haven't counted them, but I feel like most of the chapters of the book were from Gray and Liamara's perspective, and then there were Harper and Rhen chapters. But there were less Harper and Rhen chapters, which makes me feel like Gray and Liamara were the heroes of this particular story, and also Gray struggling with his magic the whole time and like being the one to beat her. I mean, technically Rhen did, because Gray made him a monster and the monster killed her, but like, still, we spent the entire story with Gray in his training sessions with the Scraver dude, and like learning to use his magic and struggling against it and thinking he couldn't beat Lilith and all these things, and then we get to the finale and we don't even get to see it. Like, it was lackluster and disappointing. That's what it was. I would say I have mixed feelings about the book as a whole. Like, I really enjoyed it, and it was a pain turner? Wow, it was a page turner. Whatever. Yeah, and there were, I mean, it made me laugh, it made me smile. You didn't get to see any of that because I was just ranting at you, but it did make me laugh and giggle several times. But I was also angry through most of it, because all of the reasons I've already said on camera and I don't need to repeat. So, I have mixed feelings, but I think if I had to like narrow it down to just one thing, I think it would just be disappointment. Like, I really loved the Gray and Liamara chapters all throughout. I don't think there were any Gray and Liamara chapters that I didn't enjoy. But the finale just didn't do it for me, and then anything to do with Gray, I mean not Gray, wrong prince. Anything to do with Rhen just made me mad. So, there you go. It did give me some ideas, because in my King Arthur fantasy series, there's some parallels that I could draw.
Not from a prince who was trying to kill a child, but with the two kingdoms that are like at war and at odds with each other, but then actually end up being allies and sort of becoming one kingdom because Gray and Leomara are ruling both of them. Yeah, I have something like that in my story. Hold on.
I'm back. Anyway, I think I basically said what I needed to say. I liked it, but was also disappointed by it. And also it just made me feel really strong emotions the entire time, which was kind of exhausting. I remembered what I was saying, prior to running off. Yeah, in my King Arthur story there's two kingdoms that are kind of at odds with each other, but then, I think, assuming I haven't actually written the final book yet, they're going to end up united in much the same way happened in this book. So I was definitely paying attention to how the two kingdoms came together in this one, and I've really enjoyed the build-up of it, but when, like, it actually happened at the end of the book, it was lackluster. So I'm going to take note of both of those things and try to emulate the first part and then improve upon the second in my story. Okay, I've already edited this video together and it's like an hour long, and I still need to chop it down into something that is worth watching. But I have to add on to it because today I was on Instagram. I shared in my stories about my hour-long angry rant about the book, and then I was getting responses from people, and I am loving the frustration towards Rhen. I'm glad I'm not the only one.